welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now.
Jimothy.
So ladies and gents, we are back with a little bit of a different video today. Now I do watch a lot of market watch, but being from the UK, I don't have access to TCG players. It's fantastic deals that they have, so I thought, you know what, let's do a little bit of a market watch on some of the UK markets that we may have access to over here. Now this is just sort of a few thoughts of mine, ladies and gents, and with regards to the cards, definitely get at me in the comment section below some of the cards that you'd like reviewing. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it. So the first card I've got on here is Peaceful Planet Calarium. Now we know that Vanadium have got new support upcoming, and to be honest, the new support looks solid. At the moment, Vanadium's a little bit like a tier 2 deck, quote unquote, mainly because it's just not as strong as some of the other like top tier decks that are out there at the moment. But I think the new support will definitely help push it further up the tier list and help make it a little bit more effective, so to speak. So I think Peaceful Planet Calarium at its current price is definitely a steal. The further we get away from Cyberstorm access, the more this card is going to go up. And I think when the new cards do get dropped, this card's just going to get hyped up because it's a searcher. We all know the planet cards are just absolutely crazy for the VSS lore, and at the moment it's not looking too bad. I mean, £20 for a secret rare, who knows when Peaceful Planet or Pressure Planet or whatever it was, the T-Elements one as well as the Kashtira one, they both kind of started off fairly well and then they just skyrocketed in price. They just went off the chart. So this is a good time to kind of like pick this up, and I'm actually kind of like actively trading for one of these myself, to be honest. I've got a Vanadium core, I've got 2 Ashta Loud, which is another card I will talk about shortly, but definitely have a look at Peaceful Planet Calarium. The next card, again fitting with the Vanadium theme, is Vanadium Room Heart. Now again, this card's a little bit weird. It's been going up and down. I mean, like at the moment, let's look at the sellers here. At the moment, looking at about £4.73 for a Vanadium Room Heart, which I think is a little bit of a steal, specifically as, like I said previously, the further we get away from Cyberstorm access, the more this card is going to go up, especially when the new support gets released. People are just going to go crazy, and then these quantities are going to be low. At the moment, as you can see, there's not that many quantities on the market, and they are selling for under a £5. So definitely want to invest in these, whether you want to make a few trades at your locals or just pick these up with a few throw-ins. It's definitely a good idea if you want to play Vanadium. If you don't, then I'd probably hold on to these before you start offloading them, to be honest, just because the hype isn't quite here yet. The new support's been announced, but it hasn't been released yet, so we're still a little bit of a way before we start getting some more hype around Vanadium. The next card I wanted to talk about was Bestial Dispata. Now I think this card's a bit of a steal at the moment for what this card does, and its current price point, which is, let's forget him, he hasn't got that many sales. This one's quite good, £8. So £8.81, almost £9. I think this is a bit of a steal. This is a negate, it shuffles back in a banished monster, it's 3500 attack, it does a lot. It's seen a little bit of play in Dragon Link, but I think just synchro decks going forward are going to want to use this card, and right now this card is fairly cheap, ladies and gents. It's not expensive at all, and it's actually going down in price. It was a little bit higher than this. I mean, when I picked my one up, it was a tenner, and I think that was at UK Nationals, and that was only a couple of weeks ago, and now we've already seen it dropping down to like 7s, 8s, 9s. So definitely worth picking up if you're just picking up anyway, and just at least holding on to one copy. Who knows, maybe even a couple of copies, ladies and gents. I feel like this card is a little bit underrated right now, just because there's so much going on in the meta game, and it's not really part of a meta deck, which is why it's a little bit cheaper than I think it should be. It's a little bit undervalued, to be honest, and I can see this going up in the future. Another bestial card which definitely is a bit more notorious is Magnum. Now this had a little bit of a dip. I think when obviously T-Elements came out the format, and then Kashtira was obviously running rampant, the bestials just kind of like went out of fashion, just because they weren't as useful as they used to be. But saying that, now there's a little bit of change in the meta, especially with the new ban list. Like Magnum is a bit of a steal, to be honest. Now it's kind of back down to where it started off as, so if you look at the price here, look, as you can see, there's not that many available, and there's let's ignore that seller. So I've actually bought from this guy before, the Grumpy Goblin from Dover, but £13. So it's starting to creep back up. I mean, I picked up a couple of Magnamuts maybe a week or two ago for like £5 each, which was a crazy trade. I had to grab them. And since then, they've doubled in price. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on this card. This card's probably, this and the rest of the Bestials, but this one specifically is probably going to be more notable going forward, especially with the prevalence of like more light and dark attributes or light and dark monsters that are hitting the graveyard. Bestials just become infinitely better, ladies and gents. And then obviously going +1 name phase is just a nice feeling anyway. So definitely worth investing into some Magnamuts right now. It's gonna skyrocket in price. It will go up, and like I said, quantities are going to start getting lower just because we're moving further away from Darkwind Blast, which is probably going to start removing itself from the shelves if it hasn't done so already. The next card I wanted to speak about was Chaos Angel, ladies and gents. Now, again, this card saw some crazy initial hype when it first came out just because of what it does. It's a banish. It's basically a Link 2 monster. You just need a light and a dark monster on field to get both of its effects off, which is crazy. And it's a really powerful card. It can do some crazy things. It's just silly attack. And at the moment, it's kind of like, its price point is kind of like steady. I'm sure it was like 60s at one stage and it's kind of dropped down. Let's have a look at the graph. So 39s. So card markets had it a little bit cheaper, but bearing in mind we're looking at just the UK market at the moment. If you was looking like across the whole of Europe, you'd probably see a bit more of a fluctuation. But yeah, it was fairly pricey at the moment, and now you can pick one up for roughly about £40, which I think is a bit of a steal. I can't imagine this card getting a reprint anytime soon. Potentially the 2023 Megatins. I'm not too sure if it would have missed them. But definitely a crazy card, and we're just waiting for a few more results, probably the North American WCQ, to kind of like see if this card really shines. And I do think it's going to start going up in price. So if you can trade for it and you do want to use this card, definitely get a hold of it now. Or if you even want to buy it, it's probably at its lowest at the moment. In the future it probably will drop, but for now this price is going to hold steady until it sees some kind of play, and it's just going to skyrocket. The next card I wanted to talk about is VS, aka Vanquishers. Now I put Rock of the Vanquisher here, but I'm going to use this one to represent most of the VS Ultras basically. And if you want to get this deck, now is the time to pick it up. Mainly because Wild Survivors is fairly new, so quantities of all the VS cards are still going to be fairly steady going forward as people still ripping this open. Initially, people didn't really want to open Wild Survivors just because like there wasn't that much value in the deck. In the box, but because we've seen Vanquishers do a little bit in the meta game, it's had a little bit of tops. I think it topped a couple of the nationals. I believe it might have been the Italian national. Vanquish Souls are just absolutely just running away with it, and even some of the trade groups that I'm in on Facebook, people are just going crazy for the Vanquish Soul cards. I've got a couple myself on the way. I don't know if I'm going to be building the core, but potentially I might actually just pick a few of them up just to like throw in with a few trades basically, because like I said, it's really difficult to pull these cards, and at the moment the price is a little bit steady because people are opening the product. But going forward, this is going to be more and more difficult to get a hold of. And I think back to Grand Creators when the Punk Monsters came out. I mean, I brought a Foxy Tune and Ogre Dance for a collective sum of like £6, and then people realized that the cards were good, and then they like quadrupled in price. So even now, like Foxy Tunes are like £20 plus, which is just absolutely crazy, and Ogre Dances are still fairly expensive. And just think, like, I was in this position before, and I'm here again, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not making that mistake again. So if you do want to pick up Vanquish Souls, probably now's the best time to do it. If you've got the ability to, if you wanted to trade for some of them, definitely keep an eye on them, because as you can see, it kind of like dipped in price when it came out, but now it's on the rise, especially with results flowing in from far and wide. Like, these cards are definitely going to go up in price, and as you can see, there's not that many on the market. Like, look, the next one's, in fact, here it's £30. This is what I'm saying, it's absolutely crazy, and these are trusted sellers as well. Well, Card Trade IOM is, but £30 and 32 pence. So yeah, it's, like I said, ladies and gents, it's only going to go up, to be honest, so definitely worth keeping an eye on. The next card I wanted to talk about is Raigeki. Now, specifically the Prismatic Secret Rare from the 2019 Megatins. The reason why I want to talk about this card is because, in my opinion, this is a very, very good out to the Vanquish Soul archetype, and I feel like it's why Konami kind of hit Lightning Storm on the Forbidden and Limited list, because targeted negation or targeted effects for some of the Vanquish Soul monsters is just not a good idea, mainly because they can just tag out into other Vanquish Soul monsters that are in hand, and then obviously you lose your target. But just having like a masked board clearance, whether that be like Raigeki, Dark Hole, it's definitely something that you might want to look into, and it's something that I'm looking into anyway. Haven't done much testing, but at the moment these are fairly cheap, to be honest. I mean, like, you're looking like less than £5 for a prismatic secret rare, which is probably not going to get another print. So if you wanted to stock up on these, now is definitely a good time to do so. A few trusted sellers here on the card market. Again, I buy from the Grumpy Goblin Dover, and £3.50 for a prismatic secret rare is not bad. And 2019 was a few years ago now, so this is only going to go up in price. And if you don't use them, you could potentially shift them again. Like, this just needs to see a little bit of meta play, whether that be like a WCQ or YCS or something like that, and these will just blow up again. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. The next card I want to talk about, ladies and gents, is Kirikara. I am fortunate that I bought my playsets for like, well, my playset for about £8. In fact, I brought 4 and then I traded one for like 20 quid. But this card's crazy. It's under up yet again. You're looking about £37.50, £38 for a copy, and there's not that many. Look, if you look on card market, there's not that many, because people know that this is a meta card, and this is something that you should probably get a hold of if you're looking to compete against some of the better decks out there. It is a mass clearance card, well, board breaker, quote unquote, so it definitely goes a long way in terms of having it in your side deck, maybe even main deck in certain scenarios. But again, it's not as cheap as it once was. It's gone up. It's £37.50, potentially like £38. So I can't see this card going down in the near time. And if you want to use this card like now, if you want to play in like regionals now, with WCQs now, it's probably worth getting a hold of. Yeah, so not much more I can say about this card. I really do like it, and I'm glad that I held on to my playset, because I had a few friends that were saying to me, oh, you might as well shift those now, they're money. But I'm glad I've held on to it, because it is useful, and it is seen play, just not as much play as previously, because Cashier obviously are falling out of the format, but it's still a fantastic card. And with these huge negation boards that people are putting up, if you've got a few other cards that can bait those negations, and you've got Div Incarnate in hand, you can actually swing the game back into your favor depending on the type of board that they put up. So definitely a card worth looking into. Next, Dino Hype. Shout out to Levi, who's actually got his Dino core ready and going. Levi, shout out to you, bro. This card, Ground Zeno, Dinosaur players, you know what I'm talking about. This card's only going to go up, ladies and gents. It's hard enough to get a hold of as it is, and if you look at this graph, from its inception, it's done nothing but climb. Like, if you're looking at now, let's have a look. Crazy Comic Scotland's probably a decent sound. £32.50, so that's now. Wild Survivors is recently just out. People are still tearing it open just because they're jumping on the like Vanquish Soul hype. But this card, definitely a free up in Dino decks, and definitely a very, very powerful card. You can search one of the cards that I'm going to look for, well, look into in a moment, as a Petty Stank. But Ground Zeno is crazy. Like, for Dinosaur players, you definitely want this, especially with the new support. It's a fusion card, it's a rotor, it destroys cards in hand. It's, yeah, you do need this card, and it's going to do nothing but climb in price. So definitely worth looking into. If you're a Dino player, you do want to grab a hold of this quickly, because like I said, Wild Survivors is a bit of a weird set. It's very top heavy, and I think Konami done that on purpose just to kind of like encourage people to open a product. But this can't be ignored, ladies and gents. This can't be ignored. So definitely grab a Ground Zeno if you're looking to play Dinos. Another card I thought was interesting, which is Small World. Now, this card's actually under the increase. Let's have a look. Crazy Scotland's got, this guy's got everything. He's crazy. But anyway, Small World, it's seen a little bit of a dip in play, just because obviously it was used predominantly in Mathmech, which was the deck that was using it the most. But that doesn't mean that Mathmech is the sole user of this deck. There are a few other decks. I've seen a few Small Worlds in some Vanquish Soul lists, so it's definitely a card that is potentially going to be in and out of the meta game. And the Prismatic Secret Rares from the Megatins is definitely a card worth picking up. I mean, The first ed secret's obviously going to be a little bit more pricey, but at the moment, if you just want a copy of the card, I feel like the prismatic secret rare from the tins are not bad. Now, they are starting to climb in price, like £6.99, £7. It's not a bad price point. If you want to pick up a playset, that's a playset for like £21. Definitely worth it, just to hold on to, because it could potentially be useful. If you're savvy with your deck building, which is why I like this card, you can literally search any card in the game, well, any monster in the game basically. So definitely a card worth having a playset of if you haven't got already, and it's only going to go up in price, ladies and gents. And I think you've got the secret rare and a prismatic secret rare now, so I can't imagine there's going to be another printing in this rarity. Maybe an OT at some point, who knows, but not a secret or prismatic secret. So if you do value small world like I do, I've definitely got my playset in hand, and my playset I picked up for a couple of quid, which was back in the day, because I thought, you know what, this card's crazy, you do need to hold on to this. So yeah, it might be worth just investing in grabbing a few small worlds, whether that be through trades or like buying it. The next card is Firewall Defensor. This is an interesting card. It does a lot. You can special a Firewall monster if it's used as a link summon, used for a link material. You can special summon a Firewall monster from your deck. So initially when this card came out, there was so much hype around it. I grabbed one copy. I think I got it for a trade, but then I was a little bit cautious on it because I was playing Mathmech at the time, and I thought to myself, the Firewall stuff was just not necessary in Mathmech at that time. But then obviously we got a ban list, and this card just became infinitely more interesting. Its price at the moment is pretty good, and I might actually pick up my other two copies to complete my playset, because they're £6 now, and I actually picked mine up for a tenner. With Mathmech being hit on the Forbidden Limited list, there's no real other huge cyber stacks out there bar Marincess, in my opinion. There might be a few up and coming. We'll have to see from the most recent like tournament results to see whether or not any kind of cyber stack does well. But this is a card that you potentially would want to pick up if you are inclined on playing a cyber stack, and I will be getting my playsets complete with this, just because I think it's a good card. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's a good card, and the Firewall support is solid. Especially with some of the other cards that you've got in terms of like the Cyber's typing. Yeah, this is definitely a good card. So it's pretty cheap now. If you wanted to pick it up, you potentially should do. Yeah. Next, Sky Striker Mobilize Linkage. If you want to play Sky Strikers, ladies and gents, grab this card now. Sky Striker getting more support. Konami loves Sky Strikers, and this is the only printing of this card. As you can see, it's bubbled along here. I think I picked up two for £8, and this was when it was just at its lowest price point. As you can see here, like £4.55. Yeah, I picked two up for £8, and now this card has just gone to the moon. You're looking at £12 here, which is crazy. Now, I've only got a playset, and I intend to play Sky Striker at some point. I'm waiting for the new support to come out, and when it does come out, this card's gonna go up even more. Maze of Memories is, Magnificent Mavens, which is where it was, I believe it stopped being printed. There are a few boxes that you can find here and there, but for the most part, this card is just, it is what it is. And in terms of quantities, there's not that many on the market. So as you can see here, like these aren't even reputable sellers. Dariam some cards only got one, so there's not that many on the market, ladies and gents. Specifically in the UK, maybe where you're from, you might want to pick some up, but I do believe that this is a card that you do want to pick up if you want to play Sky Strikers, or if you just want to grab it as a throw-in in trades or whatever. You've got some nice trade bait there, because I feel like this card's just going to continue to increase in price, so definitely worth thinking about. Next, the last card that I wanted to talk about that is not considered a penny stunk is Gravekeeper's Inscription. I think this card is crazy. I've got 5 copies of this. I need one more to complete my playset. At some point, somebody's going to use this, and then this card's just going to go just to the moon. It's got three crazy effects. Allows you to, restricts you and your opponent until the end of your opponent's turn, so it has to be activated at the start of main phase 1. It stops you from activating cards in the graveyard, special summoning from the graveyard, or banishing cards from the graveyard. So one of those 3 effects, which is super useful in today's metagame, where the graveyard effectively is like a second hand. So having access to this card, depending on what archetype you're playing, you can just activate one of these effects in complete confidence, knowing that your opponent's going to be stunned out of something. I mean, this is effectively Abyss Dweller in a spell, which is just crazy. So it does affect both players, and at the moment I feel like it's way undervalued, especially at, like, let's have a look, £3.50. like that's nothing for a card that's this powerful. Basically, that is nothing. If you're thinking of like Vanquished Souls, the Rock of the Vanquisher adds a card back from graveyard. I don't think they have many graveyard effects, but just moving a card out of the graveyard, for example, is just absolutely crazy. Dinosaurs, for example, they can't banish for double evolution pill. So definitely a card that you do want to think about, and something that I've kept my eye on for a while now, and I'm definitely going to grab the third one to complete my second playset because I feel like it's this good. All right, coming towards the end, just a few more cards that I wanted to speak about. Now, I consider this some jank, as some of my friends would call me or know me as, the jank master. Xeno Meteora. So this is the direct correlation to Ground Xeno, which is the spell card which this monster's featured on. I think this card is absolutely crazy. Like, not even just for dinosaur decks. If you read it, it says if a card is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. That's any card from anywhere. Like a level 6 tuner body with 200 defense, might I add, ladies and gents, and it's a fire monster. So it's ultimately a rekindling target, as well as a tuner that special summons itself, as well as having a 2k body, as well as being a level 6. Like, there's so many applications that you could use this card for. Easy synchro 10s, easy synchro 8s, just, it's crazy. So even in Manadium, like where you pop in your own cards, you can just special summon this card out and you've got a free tuner on board. Now, granted, they've got enough tuners as it is, but if you combine this with some of the main deck monsters or even Visa Starfrost, you literally can just do, like, the applications are endless. Not to mention going into some rank 6 plays with like some Bestials, for example. So definitely a card you want to just grab a few copies of. In fact, look, I've got 6 copies in this sleeve right here, ladies and gents, and I will be picking up some more. And when they're like 25 pence, 35 pence, like, just grab a few play sets. It's not even a joke. Like, this card will be expensive again in the near future once it's out of print. So definitely a card you want to keep an eye on. Next, Galaxy Photon Dragon. Galaxy, I've recently got some support. I'm sitting on this card. I've got 2 in my arsenal at the moment. They're £1.50. Literally a penny stunk, and for some of the ones like this, like some of the less notable buyers, I'd probably pick this up from, just because it's £1.50. It's not expensive at all, and I'd probably even look at some buyers that are just not as like established on card market and probably like grab a couple of copies, just because I feel like this card's good. It's a generic searcher. It's a level 4. Rank 4, sorry. And it searches a Galaxy or Photon card, which is useful. It can search Galaxy Cyclone or whatever it is, the one that pops a spell and trap, and then has a graveyard effect. So definitely a decent card as it is, and I've grabbed mine just because I'm a fan of Galaxy Photon. It's not a meta deck, but it's definitely a deck that I do enjoy. So this card is a pivotal part of it, and with the new support, I feel like this deck's going to be halfway decent. Next one, this is for you Gold Pride Punk players. Psychic Eraser Laser. Now, going second, this card potentially could be very, very decent. Not to mention putting your opponent's life points higher than yours. It's a non-targeting removal for an extra deck monster. It's pennies, like 3 pence for a super rare. Has not seen any kind of play, but I do feel like Gold Pride is a deck that could probably utilize it the most, or the best, going second. Just because it gives your opponent's life points and it is a form of removal. Your opponent has to respond to this card. If they don't, they're going to lose an extra net monster, and it's as simple as that. And then once they do so, their life points are higher than yours, and you're allowed to just pop off with your Gold Pride plays. So definitely a card worth looking into. So penny stunk, it's literally worth nothing. If you are playing Gold Pride and you feel like this card's useful, definitely just get it thrown in with a few like trades, or if you just wanted to buy it, you could buy a playset for less than 10 pence. So definitely worth looking into. And the final card I wanted to look into, ladies and gents, is Fusion Duplication. Again, another penny stunk. This came out of Syac. It's probably just hanging around in your bulk, but I feel like there's something about this card which just makes me feel like in the future it's going to be useful. So if you have got a copy, it's probably worth holding on to about 3. You've probably got 1 million of these if you turn open Cyberstorm access, but just being able to target a fusion or polymerization, normal or quick play spell, so super poly does fall into this category, and then apply that effect, I think it's I don't know, I feel like it's gonna get broken somewhere, some shape and somehow. So definitely worth holding on to yours, ladies and gents, if you have got this already. Now, before I end the video, I just wanted to say, listen, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a guy that loves cardboard, shiny cardboard, non-shiny cardboard. So definitely take my takes with a pinch of salt. I'm just giving you some advice, and this is just for entertainment purposes only. But anyway, we find ourselves at the end of another video. If you think there's any cards I missed, definitely get at me in the comment section below, or any cards that you want me to cover, let me know in that comment section. And if you did enjoy this content, you know what to do by now. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.